morning, Liz. How are you?
Good morning, Caralyn. I've never been better.
Never
How are you?
better. I am sensational. How about that?
Awesome.
I am I told you I was semi-sensational. I'm just fine. I'm good. I'm good. I'm looking like I don't have any makeup on. I feel like my eyes look very tired.
I have no makeup on either. I have no eyebrows. Look, I have big forehead. No eyebrows.
Oh,
No eyebrows, no eyelashes today. And the hair as I woke up.
yeah, your hair looks like the girl from Napoleon Dynamite. Nobody, the people that are listening on Spotify won't be able to know what you look like. But if you imagine the teenage girl, have you seen that movie?
Yes, not for a long time, but yes, I'd have to go
She
back to picture.
she had her
Is it
hair like
like
that. And remember, she sold glamour shots. You are, yeah, glamour ready.
glamour ready? It has a mind of its own.
Awesome. Well, today we're still discussing your book, Navigating Shitstorms, which will probably always be the theme to some extent of all of our talks. Even when we're done actually going through all the book, we're going to touch on then maybe different topics more in depth, perhaps, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, we're getting through it. What chapter are we up to now?
you know what? We are on chapter, just a second. We are on chapter 19.
Okay.
19. And the reason I don't know that off by heart is because we're on episode 23, which is not correlating to the chapters.
Ah,
I didn't start off that way. So that's okay, right?
it is. It's all okay.
It's all okay. So today we're going to talk about enticing your heart voice to get loud.
Okay.
Do you have a book with you beside you or no?
Yeah, I do. I have
Can
my
you,
advanced
oh,
reader copy.
see, this is just proof that we don't talk about what we're going to discuss. Can you go to page 167?
Yes, it's always a surprise.
It's
Page
always a surprise.
167. All right, I'm here.
And so listening to your heart voice is about learning to connect with yourself more deeply. And you have a daily affirmation that you have been saying, day after day. And I was just wondering if you could read it out loud for the listeners
I
and the
would be
watchers.
I would be happy to. And I'm going to just premise with something else too. This was the daily affirmation at the time. They always morph for me. I keep a Word doc by the month, and as things shift and change, I make adjustments to the affirmation, and I keep the old ones. I start a new file. So yeah, they're a work in progress, as we all are, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this was one that was for me at that time. And I want to invite the listeners to start with something, a guideline like this, if that's helpful, or to completely come up with their own that matches wherever they're at, whatever feels like the right statements
For you in
for
that
them,
moment.
for you in that moment. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I love
Okay.
that.
So this is what I wrote out by hand, and I also said it out loud every day. There is no one in the world like me. I am more than enough, exactly the way I am. My life matters. I am an anti-victim. I release any remnants of my victim armor daily, and I stand tall, straight, and light with my heart strong and wide open. My heart voice knows best, and I trust it implicitly.
Mm. So like when you were in this stage with this one, what gave you the idea to write it and to write it like that, to say those words? Those are pretty powerful words. I'm not a victim, right?
Yes, I'm an anti-victim. So that came out of the whole creation of Victim Town and all those places. And my statement of being an anti-victim is representative of recognizing the two voices in our head, the one from whatever Victim Town place we're hanging out in, and my heart voice. It's a different way of saying I allow that voice to be there, and I know that that's not me. That's not the essence of me. I am anti that, right? You can exist in my head. You can be part of who I am, but you're not going to control and influence me nearly to
Mhm.
the same degree as I had let them
Right.
for most of my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So this chapter is about finding your heart voice, and a lot of it's focused on emotion and how we're feeling and how we're dealing with our feelings and that kind of thing. And in the beginning of the chapter, you made the comment that often we're kinder to our friends than we are to ourselves, which is so
Yeah.
true, right? Like, because
I know.
if I were to say, like you said in the chapter, if I were to say some of the things to my friends that I've said to myself, right? I don't think I have any friends.
Exactly. Yes. We give our friends so much more grace and understanding and compassion than we do for ourselves.
Hmm.
And yeah, that's what the hell, right?
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah.
Uh, as far as affirmation goes, I think it's also important for the listeners to understand that whatever it is you choose to say as an affirmation, it needs to be it's most helpful if it matches where you're at, and that you don't have to necessarily believe it to completely be true. But you do need to believe it's possible. If you're saying an affirmation that in your mind you're saying, there's no freaking way, that is not even close to being true, then it's not going to be helpful, right? So to go back to really, really foundational statements. And another trick that I use with affirmations, and I love this one, it's not mine, I heard it somewhere else. I think it was on Mind Valley. Yes. That we can say, how is it possible that? How is it possible that I now love myself? How is it possible that I have forgiven myself for whatever thing we're totally ashamed of? And because our brain knows that, and our hearts, anything is possible. And the how is it possible that I have forgiven myself allows the universe to come up with the way to do it. We don't have to do that. All we have to say is, how is that possible that it happened? And be open to however that unfolds,
Mm. Hmm. I love
right?
that. Yeah.
And that feels a little more true, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah. So what is the purpose of emotion? And are we using emotion to our advantage? Or are we kind of killing ourselves with it?
Yeah. I think the fastest and the strongest, the most effective way to increase our heart voice power and to hear our heart voice more often is to feel our feelings. And it's hard. Nobody wants to feel pain.
Hmm.
It's never easy. It's never nice. And we also can't control how we feel that pain or how long that pain, the feeling, emotion, how long it lasts. The purpose of our emotions and feelings is to deliver a message. It's to provide intel about our environment, about people, about ourselves. And when we can get curious about what the feeling is meant to show us, and just let the feeling do its thing. It's the resistance of feelings that perpetuates our stay in victim town, right?
Yeah.
The I don't want to feel sad. It doesn't make us feel any less sad. We can stop and deny and repress our feelings, but only for so long. They will, as I know, eventually bubble back up and bite us in the ass.
Yeah, I just had this thought of when we say I don't want to feel sad, and then okay, how do I not feel sad? Oh, I'll go on a trip. I'll buy some new
Hmm.
clothes. I'll even call a friend. But calling a friend, even in the sadness, doesn't actually help with the root cause of why you're sad.
No, it
Right? None of it
doesn't.
actually helps with the root cause of what is the emotion trying to tell me, because it is trying to tell you something, right? So, and the resistance of those emotions can feel not great at times when they're on the lower part of sort of the emotional scale.
Yes, yes. And without getting fixated on having to decipher the intel, just feel the feeling. To let yourself, give yourself permission to be sad. When we don't feel our feelings, the hard feelings, then we also start to repress and not feel the really joyful feelings, right? Our brains don't distinguish between good feelings and bad feelings. If we've trained ourselves to not feel feelings, then we're not feeling all the really joyful, wonderful feelings. And that's why we're here, right?
Yeah,
To feel joy.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you. I think too, one of my lessons a while back was to like release the lower emotions that don't feel good, but also to release the higher emotions as well, because there actually are even higher emotions that we can experience. But by holding on to feeling good, we create this dissatisfaction when we're not feeling good, because we're meant to have an ebb and flow. We're meant to have the
Yes.
contrast, because if we're always feeling one thing, then that's a very monotonous, monotone type life. And that's not why we're here.
Exactly. It becomes meaningless if there's no contrast. I like to think of feelings as being fluid, and they're meant to move. They're meant to move through us and keep going. Feelings don't want to get stuck inside us any more than we want to have them stuck inside us, niggling and resurfacing, usually at the most inopportune times, those triggers, the anger, the anxiety, the resentment, those trigger feelings that come up in certain situations because they're stuck inside us still. Whatever the root cause of those was, we haven't let it go.
Yeah. Well, and it's a process. And I
Yeah.
think one of the things that I'm learning to recognize is even the feelings that feel darker are still part of all that is. It's not separated from it. It's still contained within the goodness and light of all that is and everything that exists, right? And so for me, it's learning to love where I'm at no matter what, and not wishing for that next moment, but just feeling, like you said, being in that feeling in that moment, even when it feels uncomfortable. Nobody
Yes,
wants that, but
no. And I love the way you said that, Caralyn. We have a tendency not only to judge everything, but to judge our own feelings as either being good or bad or appropriate or deserved, or whatever judgment we attach to our feelings. And it's not helpful to judge our feelings because we can't control what feelings come up.
Yeah.
And the judgment of them is a form of resisting them. It's a categorizing them. And the judgment is not helpful to letting them just flow and do their thing. I mean,
Yeah.
they are just let our feelings be. And yes, whenever we give anything love, even our anger or our resentment, everything softens with love.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Right?
Doesn't necessarily feel like it in the moment, but it
No, I
is true,
know.
right?
I
Right? Like
know.
it is true. But like I even think of something as seemingly inconsequential. I know it's a big deal, but the cat episode that you had where the cat shit all over the stuff, like you could not in that second be like, this is the best moment ever. I'm just loving this. Your feelings perpetuated you into action. Like, holy shit, there's a fucking cat in here. Get the fuck out of my room. Excuse my language, everybody. But do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The feelings help you actually towards action. But then had you kept that on the rest of the day where you were angry or whatever, I'm not saying you're angry at the cats, but I'm sure you were in a bit of
No, for me,
irritation at least.
it was fear. It was so it was pretty
fear.
funny. It was
Okay.
pretty funny, but it was the fear. I mean, this male cat was feral and it was in my room, and I'm in my bed naked under the covers, and I was afraid that if I stepped out and tried to shoo it, that it would attack me. You've seen cats jump on people and scratch and bite, and
Yeah.
so for me it was a fear, and then ongoing it was a fear of leaving my door open. And I love the fresh air while I'm sleeping. And so adjunct to that story, 2 nights ago, we were cooking shrimp for dinner, and the shrimp shells, as you know, are really stinky, and I didn't want them in the kitchen garbage. So I took just one little bag of shrimp shells out into the garbage, which is where the stairwell is. And I opened the door, took a step in, and the fucking cat was sitting right there. The same black and white cat, right? Same. And I screamed at the top of my lungs, threw the bag of shrimp shells into the garbage, and ran back into the apartment and closed the door. And then the fear was back. It's like, oh my God, he's still living in the same stairwell. He's going to jump out that vent, and if he gets through the barricade we put on the balcony, he's going to be back, right? He's marked my room as his territory, and now he's going to come back. And I let that fear overcome me another night, and I turned the AC on and closed my door. And it took me 24 hours to say, no, I'm not living that way.
Yeah.
So my door's been open for another 2 nights.
Good. Oh, isn't that great? Great, fantastic.
I know, silly little things.
It's not silly. It's
and they may be, yes, some of them we may judge as inconsequential, but we always all still have the voice, that voice in our head that wants to make us afraid. It's the learning process, and the growing and the journey is about how often and how quickly we can reset and make the choice to live in love.
I love that. Fear. I love that.
And I love that little cat.
It's partly because your friend fed it that one night.
Everybody here feeds them. It's a real problem.
I know. Okay, so I wanted to talk about responsibility for others' feelings, responsibility for others. This is actually pretty big. This is a big one. And we've got 5 minutes. No, we can give 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I do have a story about it, but I want to talk about it for a moment, because you made me mad is something that we would say to another person. You are irritating me. You are not giving me what I need, fair. Blah, blah, blah.
It's not fair.
It's a big one. It's a big one, right?
Fair. It's fair to say, I'm feeling angry. Your actions have upset me, and here's why. But none of us are responsible for how other people feel, because other people's feelings arise from their own stories and meanings that they've made up in their head about something in their previous experience. And we don't have control over everybody's previous experiences, and we have no way of knowing or understanding how their brain has processed all the shit from their own childhood. And nor is it reasonable to expect that we could or should. We're responsible for our own selves. Yes, our kindness, our own actions and words to not hurt other people. But we all make those mistakes. I've hurt a lot of people. I've said really shitty things that I've regretted and hope I would never do again. And I know I'm not alone in that camp. But I understand now too, I'm not responsible for how other people feel. I'm responsible for explaining myself and doing my best to communicate clearly. And I love what Brene Brown says, clear is kind. And it truly is. And that's those are hard conversations to have. And the way other people interpret that, the perspective that they choose to apply to it, is outside of our control, and it's not our responsibility. Sometimes we can't make people understand no matter how hard we try. And we have to let it go with love. Yeah. I love that. And it's true, because I was looking over your guidebook, and I'll try not to give away too much, but you do tell a story in there of a man playing a guitar in a park, and how different people view that person, whether it's, oh, wow, that man's playing something beautiful, or what's that man doing there? Or that's irritating. Like, everybody will have their own story in their head. Right. Yeah. And this man's just playing a guitar. So you could go up to him and say, you're scaring me, go away. But that's not his intention. And then does he need to apologize for that? You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. So I have this little story.
one of my lessons that I'm learning for myself is realizing my own self-worth,
The
right?
quintessential journey.
Now, Don Miguel Ruiz talks about this, I may have said his name wrong, in the Four Agreements, but it's the concept of don't let others' compliments affect you and don't let their criticism affect you. It just all is, right? So because if you let their compliments affect you, then you're still being swayed by something outside of yourself, right?
Yeah.
So I was watching a movie. I'm not going to try to tell too many stories about my family, but I think this is a really great example. And I've been married for 30 years. And a number of years ago, we were really struggling in our marriage. And really, I had a lot of issues that I needed to figure out how to solve. And it was because of my own internal battles. So we're watching this movie recently, and I still have my foot in this two worlds. So like, just so people know, I'm pretty solid in what my beliefs are and how I would guide others and coach others through something. And I know I'm great at what I do and how I do process it, but I still fall back into my old ways as well. Because I'm just
human.
Freaking human, right? So we were watching this movie, and my husband is very solidly in this linear reality. He's in construction. He understands how machines work. So he understands science. He understands history. And we could have those kinds of conversations. And every day we have the same conversation, it would be new again, because those things don't stick in my brain. I don't understand how machines work. And I don't freaking care. I don't really care how science works. And I am in the spiritual sort of esoteric world, and he doesn't give a flying flip about it, right? And that's okay, because he offers something to me and I offer. It's all this beautiful symbiotic relationship. Anyway, we were watching a movie, and I paused the movie and I was explaining, oh, that's how I think, that's how I feel, blah, blah, blah. And I didn't feel like he was understanding what I was saying, and I felt a little frustrated. And he said, oh yeah, okay, good. What do you want me to say? And I'm like, well, I want you to be more enthusiastic. I want you to care more. I want you to basically see how amazing I am, blah, 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 right? And he's like, okay, so what do you want me to say so that you can feel that? And I'm like, I know you're right. And I said this to him because I also want to tell him, in my wanting something, I'm recognizing that he's actually guiding me back to, you have it in yourself. I don't have to give you the thing that you think you want. You don't have to be acknowledged. That's really what he's saying. He doesn't know that he's saying that, but he's really saying, I don't have to acknowledge you in the way that you want to be acknowledged to have that thing. Right?
Yeah.
And in the past, it would have escalated into a fight. You're not giving me what I want. You're not being intimate in the way I want, blah, blah, blah. But that's all outside of me. That's all trying to control another. And I actually don't know what's going on in his brain. I have to actually admit, he doesn't love me any less or think I'm any less great. He just loves me just cause, not cause I know these things, and vice versa. I love him just cause, not because he has what he has. So it was this not a big wake up call, but I've had a few of them lately, especially with him, where he's like, okay, but what do you want me to say? And I realized, oh man, if he gave me what I wanted, I wouldn't have learned the lesson of going within, going back to myself. And so I could have stood in my rightness and my I don't know, my moral highness of like, no, you need to give me what I want, and if I don't get it, what's this relationship all about? That's not what it is, right?
Well,
Like,
it can't be, because when
no.
we hand over the responsibility, the power to anybody else to validate our self-worth, then we've lost. The only people and the true responsibility to validate our self-worth is ourselves. And when it's within, then we're never without it, because we are always with ourselves wherever we go. And we don't have to depend on circumstances or people or compliments or words or validation or acknowledgement from anybody. I mean, that's what our heart voice is there for. That's what our heart voice is meant to do for all of us, and everyone has one.
And so I love what you say about the affirmation about the anti-victim, because being responsible for myself and myself only, and how I act and operate in this world. Because you know
Yeah.
when you're doing wrong. Like if I say
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
sarcastic comment, like say you and I were together and I was feeling irritated for a second and I said a sarcastic comment and you said something to me, I would know if I really meant it or not. You know what I mean? So I can own that kind of thing. But this is the most anti-victim type message, because you are responsible for yourself and you're responsible for creating your
Yeah.
life and you are responsible for your beliefs and you can change your beliefs. And here's the thing, we've talked about this before. Your beliefs, evidence of your beliefs will always be shown to you, always.
Uh-huh.
And when you change your belief, there's an echo of what was, and then you get evidence of the new belief, right? And so when I say, well, he doesn't care about me, look, I just proved it. I'm looking for that evidence and I will be given
Yeah.
that evidence. And when I shift my belief of he loves me anyway, and I'm responsible for myself and I'm amazing in the way and I'm worthy and I'm full of love, blah, 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 the new
Yes.
evidence will be shown. The new evidence
Yes.
will be shown. And the other thing I'm learning is that I may still be in the same situation. So evidence that I have changed is when I'm in a same situation and I have responded differently. Or
Yeah.
I may have responded the same, but I may come back from it faster, right? And so all
It's a
these little
choice.
baby steps, right?
Yeah. It's all the
Yeah.
little choices. It's the little choices in the perspective we choose and the meaning we attach to it.
So as we wrap up, like what are some ways you offer affirmation, but other ways to quiet the town voice, because it can get loud sometimes.
Yeah, for everybody, it's a little bit different. What's important for every individual human is to find their own way, and that takes curiosity and an open mind and trial and error. We've talked about meditation. I would say that is the number one, and doesn't have to be hard. Yeah, just find your find your
Just the
quiet.
quiet.
Find your peace, whether that's nature or walking or music. I mean, there's a lot of different things. Feel your feelings and follow and do the things that feel reassuring, that feel calm for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. Sometimes you can talk to a friend, but again,
Yep.
again, it's just like to me, my tribe now are the ones that will remind me of who I am and remind me to go back to myself and be like,
Yep.
you have this within you. It's kind of like the whole Wizard of Oz, right? You had it within you all along, right? And it's
Absolutely.
rediscovering that. And that's what
Yeah.
this journey is about, is rediscovering different facets or discovering different facets of ourself,
Yep. And
right?
you raised a really good point too, Carolyn, about the people we hang around with, the people that we exchange our energy with, and the people to whom we give our one of our most valuable resources, which is our time and our love. It's hard to let people go. It's hard to make choices to not be around long-standing friends or relationships when it doesn't when their energy is hard for us. The saying, I don't have the energy to deal with them right now. And
Mhm.
that is that's your heart voice saying, maybe it's not in your best interest to be in their presence right now. And sometimes that's a family member. And sometimes it's really hard to take a step back. And there is nothing more important than protecting our own peace of mind. And
Mhm.
there's nothing wrong with that, because when we're full of love and heart voice power, that's when we have it to share. And not everybody is along everybody's at different places in their journey,
Mhm.
and that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we like to bring people up that are that need more energy and love. That's why we're here, is to share that. but we also at the same time have to protect our own resources. And there are some people that are energy suckers, and they can deplete us, in an hour. We come away from that, going to talk to a friend, and we come away feeling like just completely wiped out and defeated. And sometimes the people, if they're hanging out in victim town, will even amp up those shitty voices in our head. And that's not who we want to be exchanging energy with on a regular basis. And that's okay. We don't have to dismiss them or judge them. It's, I wish you well, and move on.
And sometimes things just naturally fall away. Like you,
Yes,
in the
they do.
beginning of our recordings, you were chatting about your dear friend that texted you and said like the relationship's over. And it's just like, oh,
Okay. It
okay.
is sad, but true. Those were her words. And they were extremely hurtful at the time, but she wasn't wrong. It was sad, but true. And I wish her well. And that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love that, being able to end that kind of relationship and send it off with love is beautiful. I have sent off some relationships really badly in the past.
We all have.
Really badly. And
Yes.
it's too bad. It's too bad. But I
We're
will
doing our
tell you,
best.
I will tell you, I had one friend that I sent away not so nicely. And I did end up messaging her back and apologizing for my rudeness. And I knew that
Good
was
for
that with a
you.
relationship. And
Oh.
about 1.5 years later, she just knocked on my door one day. I'm gonna cry when I say this. She just knocked on my door one day,
Oh.
and I thought, holy shit, because when I have been I've been called intimidating before because when I'm in my knowing, and when I know something, whether even if I'm angry or if I'm in joy or whatever, I come across quite powerfully. No, it's a surprise. I'm a very
Shocking.
strong feeler, right?
Shocking.
So when someone has the audacity, even after I've apologized, to come to my door to talk to me, I'm like, holy shit, this is someone that knows who she is or is
She's
learning who
stepping
she is,
up.
and she's
Yeah.
stepping up. And I
Yeah.
just cried so much when she came, because I had actually, she'd already forgiven me for saying the rude things that I said. And then it felt like an embarrassment to some extent that she had the grace to come and still like want to reconcile and to still see if there was something between us. And she is the one of the only people kind of from, I would call my older life that elevated. She elevated too, because what she changed in the time that we were separated, but we were shifting in the same way. And I
So are
really
you friends
appreciated
again
that.
now?
Oh, very good friends. She's a very good friend.
Oh, I
Yeah,
love
she's a
that.
great support, and I'm encouraging. Like I still see her doing her work, and she is such a. It's just incredible, and an incredible. So I just love her, and I love her family so much.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm
So
appreciative of. I'm appreciative that because I know what it takes to do the work. It can be a challenge at times, right? It is hard to look
yeah.
at yourself and be responsible. Be responsible. Even it's easier to blame you for irritating me than to take responsibility for my
Yeah.
feelings of irritation.
Yep.
So I'm
Well,
just
it's
so
the
appreciative.
shame. Shame is one of the
Yeah.
hardest emotions to overcome, and it's forgiveness for ourselves,
Yeah.
right?
That truly is true. It's because
Yeah.
the ego doesn't want to let go, right? And
Well,
so it's
no,
just
because
about
it
calming
spins
the
things
mind and
up.
saying,
Yeah.
mind, calm down.
Yes.
It's okay.
And sometimes we can't make amends. Sometimes it's impossible to
Mhm.
go back and offer that explanation or that forgiveness, or to show somebody that we've changed. And that's not always what feels right for somebody, depending on what it was. What's important is dealing with ourselves,
Mhm.
and being responsible, and owning it, and giving ourselves the grace. I love that she came back,
I
and
know.
that
I
and that you're friends
know.
again. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
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 So, and yeah, and her life has completely changed too. Like, and I could see at the time that she was trying to figure out how to get out of the tailspin she was in.
Yep.
And she's and she's gotten it, and she still gets it. Both of us still get into tailspins. Don't get me wrong.
Well, tailspins, shitstorms,
shitstorms,
yes.
but we do. In fact, actually, let's end with this, because I do want to end, and this has nothing to do with it, but I once in a while I actually babysit for a family. I love this family, and the husband's brother had just passed away in his 30s. Beautiful family. So,
Oh
and
my
I
gosh.
I love being part of. I'm gonna cry when I say that. I just love being part of
Their love.
their love and what I see and experience with them. And but I don't do it that often. They have a living caregiver, and but I was called to come because they were doing Shiva. They're Jewish. I'm not sure what I apologize for our listeners that are Jewish. Anyway, all that to say, they left. They had ordered food. It was a bit chaotic when the person came to deliver the food, because they have a beautiful home with a beautiful door and a lovely alarm system. And I thought I was locked in the house and I couldn't open the door. And it was literally a lot of chaos. And then their home is a 2-story. There's a lot of 2-story open spaces. So if the 3 kids are squealing or screaming, then that's echoey.
The sound echoes. Yeah.
Then the kids brought in the pizza boxes, and one picked up this massive panzerotti, and the other one picked up the massive pizza. And when I parented my 4 children, I homeschooled for 15 years. So I was a little bit more authoritarian, and I don't want to be like to these kids or whatever. At that moment, this friend called me and I said, "Hey, I gotta go. It's a bit of an SHIT show right now." And the oldest girl goes, forgetting that she could spell. It's a shit show. It's a shit show. Well, then the 5-year-old and the 3-year-old, shit show. So they're going, as I'm thinking of you. And then we eat dinner, and then I sit them down and I talk to them about, I apologize for swearing. I shouldn't have said that. And then they're like, "What? When you said shit. And then they're saying it again. And then I say under my breath, because I swear quite a bit,
shit.
Fuck.
Oh no.
So then I've got shit, fuck. And then they're going, and I'm just like, oh my goodness. So I said to them, I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to tell your parents now that I swore. And then the oldest one goes, "You don't have to tell my mom. Why would you tell my mom?" And I'm like, "Because you're 7 and you're going to tell her in the morning. And you 3 rugrats are going to go around saying shit, fuck in the morning." The parents were okay with it. Everything was fine.
Right? Well,
But,
shit happens,
yeah.
and the word slips out.
It happens, and it was a shit show. And
it was. You called it as it was.
I took responsibility for my actions and owned it with these parents. And I'm like, yeah.
And that's all we can do.
So over this babysitting.
Yes.
Anyway.
I love it.
Well, thank you so much for writing this chapter. It was a fantastic one. And I look forward to the next chapter next time.
Yes. Have an awesome day.
Thank you. You too. Bye.